Welcome to another episode of Shipper War, my review of The Hunger Games Catching Fire.
Shipper War. When ship happens, I'm there.
The Hunger Games Catching Fire stars Jennifer Lawrence and a bunch of very talented actors and actresses who I'm not going to name because the list will just be endless because there's so many of them. And the premise of the story is basically it takes place after the Hunger Games, the first installment to this franchise. Katniss is back in District 12. She's just living life, doing what she does, hanging with Gale. Then the story just progresses into them being the Victory Tour, and then the story continues on to the actual Hunger Games. So I made a decision prior to seeing this movie that I was not going to break and read the book, because I wanted to go into this movie as a fan of movies and not a fan of a book who just happens to go see a movie based on the book that I really like. So with that said, as a film, this movie was absolutely amazing. It's by far one of the most flawless movies I've seen in a very long time when it comes to something that I really enjoy, and that's the Hunger Games. I really like this franchise. I really look forward to the things that are coming out of this franchise. There's just so many things in this film that I just absolutely love. It seemed like the director for this movie, which is Francis Lawrence, he took whatever issues that people had of the first movie and he did an absolutely amazing job fixing all those issues and making this movie into what it ended up being. I don't recall ever feeling so many emotions for a fictional story, sci-fi film where these things are going on and you actually really feel bad for what's going on in this story for these fictional characters. I was sitting there watching this story unfold and seeing all these crazy things happening and just feeling really, really sad for what was going on. And there were certain points in the movie when Katniss would do something completely amazing or somebody would do something completely amazing against the Capitol that people in my audience would cheer because they were just, you know, I guess they were feeling the same way I was feeling. They were feeling so frustrated and sad of what's going on with these people and how unfair their lives are because of this society that they live in, this government that they have, that's absolutely unfair in every single way, and they're fighting back in a certain way that makes us happy that they're fighting back because we feel like they deserve better. And, you know, to feel that for fictional characters is not always something you really feel. And I feel like they did an amazing job, you know, bringing out that sadness of this story that they're trying to tell. I felt even more of an attachment to the Hunger Games because I felt like the story that was told in Catching Fire transitioned into the Hunger Games and made that film and the story they were telling in that film, and even in the book, mean so much more than what it originally felt for me when I first read the book or when I first saw the movie. Because what happens in Catching Fire, and I'm sure the book is just absolutely amazing when it's telling this story as well, it's just something that is just chilling. It's a very dark movie. It's depressing at certain points. It's a downer, but at the same time, it gives you faith in humanity, at least when it comes to them, you know, standing up for what they believe in. Now, as for the romance in the movie, which is a big deal when it comes to the Hunger Games, at least when it comes to Catching Fire, wasn't a big fan of Peeta and Katniss, not even in the book. I wasn't in the Hunger Games, the first book. I wasn't, but this movie changed my mind. I have to give props where props is due, and I was completely confused. I wasn't expecting this at all, but I was sitting watching this movie and watching Katniss and Peeta interact, and I was just sitting there like, I actually like the idea of these two together. Like, before I was all for Katniss and Gale, but I'm sitting these two together and I'm liking the idea of Peeta and Katniss. If they end up together, I may not be mad at that. I actually like the idea. And towards the end of the movie, I was starting to think to myself, do I want Katniss with Gale? Because I'm really liking Peeta and Katniss. And I thought I would never feel that way towards these two, and this movie and whatever story that was told in the second book, Catching Fire, just completely changed my mind on those two as a couple and the relationship and whatever love story they're trying to tell between those two. It was just told so well that honestly I'm torn. I'm looking forward to what happens in Mockingjay, but I'm not going to read Mockingjay because I don't want to do the same thing I did with the Hunger Games. So it's going to be a long time before I find out what the, end result is between them two, but I'm looking forward to it. So overall, I really enjoyed this movie. All the actors did an amazing job in this film. Every single one of them, my gosh, they all did a great job. I absolutely loved, adore, any word to describe what I felt for this movie in a very positive way is what I felt for this film. For those who I recommend this movie to, pretty much anybody who has a pulse. If you have a pulse, go see this film. Even if you didn't like the first Hunger Games, still give this film a chance. I feel like you will not be disappointed. I kind of guarantee you will not be disappointed because this movie, once again, was absolutely amazing. So that is all for this episode of Ship Award. Thank you for watching. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and may the odds be ever in your favor. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty stars Ben Stiller, Kristen Wiig, Sean Penn, and Adam Scott, and a bunch of other very talented actors and actresses who I do not know their names. The movie's also directed by Ben Stiller, and the premise of the story is about this guy named Walter Mitty, who is not a very interesting man. He lives a very boring life, and the reason why he lives this very boring life is due to things that happened in his life previously. They kind of put him in this mold of living a very mediocre